Welcome to Playbook Broken. The old playbooks just don't work anymore. Marketing is changing faster than most people can keep up, thanks to AI, shifting buyer behavior, and a business world that's being rewritten in real time. If you've ever looked at your tried and true tactics and thought, yeah, that's not hitting like it used to, you're in the right place. On Playbook Broken, we're talking to disruptors, operators, and unapologetically honest voices about what's next and how we actually get there. No matter where you're watching or listening, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share Playbook Broken.
And today I've got somebody special. Matthew Kay is the new head of search for ActiveCampaign, prominent figure here in Raleigh, North Carolina, the co-founder of Tech SEO Connect conference, and a hell of a fun hang. Matthew, welcome to Playbook Broken.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Marc.
Before we get into it, let's rip from headlines here. I'm going to look for a hot take on SEO for you. Are the old tricks past their prime? Is AI eating everybody's lunch? Yesterday on Search Engine Land, Danny Goodwin wrote about how for the first time in 22 years or something, Safari fell in Google searches. What the heck's going on here?
I think it's information overload at the same time that there's more places to go and look for information than ever before. 10 years ago, you had Google is the primary credible place to query. But now I think if I look at the search behavior of people that are in their teens or younger 20s, you've got a lot of TikTok searches for different local type queries and people just generally spending a lot of time in ChatGPT. So it all tracks. I think market share of Google, though, is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Is that ultimately, you think that's a good thing? It's a natural thing, or what happens next?
The TNT became a monopoly, and then it was literally antitrusted by the United States federal government at a certain point. Same thing happened with Standard Oil, and Google is at some level. Google's like the American tobacco of the internet. It's got all the traffic, it sends all the referrals, it's in all the browsers, it's all the devices. I think we're watching the federal government kind of grapple with what breaking it up or what antitrust looks like for it also. But in the meantime, it's followed those natural power laws of if organization becomes big enough, it will destroy itself from within. And they've got all these incumbent, Google's never figured out social media. Google really created all of this language transformer architecture, LLM. This is all originated from Google. They never commercialized it without being forced to do so. So, yeah.
Unprecedented times is what I hear you saying.
Nice.
God, it's exciting. It's scary and it's exciting. As a growth marketer, as an SEO, does that get you up in the morning? Does that shake your foundation? How are you feeling about that emotion?
I think there's two buckets. There's two modalities to search engine marketing, right? You've got your doing the fundamentals and system building and bringing legitimate things to visibility and making sure a great product gets all of the eyes on it that it possibly can. Or if the great product is content, making sure that that's as widely distributed as possible, people can read it. And then you've got this other modality, which is gaming the algorithm and doing this to get this extra, hit or increase in position, whatever you want to call it. And the interplay between those two brains is always where an SEO or a search engine marketer has lived. And I think now we're watching people that maybe have spent too much time in that hacking the algorithm world when there are no clicks to be had and that was your only value. Yeah, it's like a tough day, If you have an audience, you don't really have a brand and you've been arbitraging Google traffic and throwing up some Mediavine ads. Yeah, it's not a great time to be a person that owns a site like that. But if you've got an authentic audience and you've been creating video content, you've got subscribers, direct subscriptions, people paying to access, see your content, you'll be fine.
Matthew, on Playbook Broken, guests can choose from a number of segments, breakdowns, moments, workshops, and more. Today, you picked a breakdown and new rules. We're going to get started with the breakdown. As we said, playbooks are breaking all over the place. You just talked about it. Rip them up, throw them out, figure out what's next. In your world, growth, SEO, let's get specific. What's breaking and what are you doing about it? What happens next, either on the growth side or the SEO side, given what you've just sort of set us up with?
Yeah, I think I've been riffing on this a fair amount in the last couple of weeks, but rewind back 10 years. Let's go back to 2014. And you're like a early SEO marketer or whatever at a software company, and you've been tasked with, improving traffic from a search engine. There was like a arbitrage and a moat around creating loosely researched in a silo blog content, stuff like that. And that didn't really have to articulate, a unique opinion. You could literally, as a real life human, just do some low level kind of information retrieval, put together a top 10 of this or a how to do this or that with no real lived experience, first person perspective, unique opinion, any sort of angle. And then, yeah, put a few CTAs on the page and call it a day. And I think we were all pretty much in agreement that like that doesn't really, work. Search engine land, and I'd say a lot of other properties like it are a testament to like unique opinions and deeply held beliefs and research and original work and all of these things. So yeah, that playbook, although shockingly, the hundreds or thousands of people selling ways to do what I'm describing in an automated fashion might try to speak otherwise. No, it's dead. I cannot tell you the hundreds of times I've gone to go look at the traffic of something like what I'm describing, and it's just might be indexed, but one click in 90 days, a couple hundred random impressions. Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
Huh. So you're describing kind of the death of a well-worn, well-known, well-trodden on, well-staffed, understood playbook. To you, like you've been around a while, like I have, does this feel like the early days of SEO, or does this feel like something different?
I think everything that's old is new again. The origins of the web marketing, or maybe just like companies making websites, or are people making websites without an existing brand? It was like almost like academic researchers that were just putting what they knew up on their site about what they're working on through. I think about the stuff I was like, reading or looking at on a dial-up internet connection. Like, yeah, it was like crappy HTML pages, people that spent, in my case, stone carving and like everything that they knew about how to, carve different types of stone. But that's like, that's super valuable stuff. It's like what he spent thousands of hours doing. So yeah, I want to hear from him. And yeah, that's not going to go away. Maybe a website, search engine's not the right distribution channel for that content right now. Other places to go, but you can kind of get my drift.
Yeah, no, I get your drift. I think it's a lived experience for a lot of us, whether we're in the fingers on the keyboard type marketer or middle management or upper management. It's like really concerning. Let me ask you about a different part of the playbook that I know that you've got some thoughts on. And it's something I've been thinking a lot about, which is this idea that the sort of MQL, the traditional definition of lead gen, especially in B2B, is somehow dead. Is it as dead as search?
It's getting there. I don't know.
Getting there. Yeah. Why do you say get, like, I'm not decided. I haven't decided yet personally that it's dead. I think I agree with you, by the way, like it is getting there, but there's some fundamental things that are broken about the whole lead gen, get a person to give you an email address, make some assumptions about them, move them down the funnel. Like, I don't know. I think there's some real challenges with that.
Yeah, I think I think everything, maybe this whole notion of an MQL or whatever, it ends up becoming like such a talked about, just something that's analyzed to death by so many people, so many functions. And I think if you take it back to the one of, we're just going to play buzzword bingo as we're talking, keep it stupid simple, like that world, it's like the brand unaware, brand aware, solution unaware, people that are in the audience, not in the audience, and then people that are converted or not converted. And I think, does that mean that there's like an MQL in there somewhere? Sure. But like, I think that obsession is probably going to lead to the ruin of many.
I do know it is an obsession, right? Because I think as marketers, we've been sold a bill of goods that like everything's measurable and just track it and then put a UTM on it and you're good. And I've always felt a little bit uneasy about it, but in the last couple of years, it's become, I think, really tricky. Let me ask you this. How do you think about performance marketing versus brand marketing? Do you give that distinction much consideration, much thought in your brain?
Yeah, probably too much. But, I think like search engine marketing is at some level kind of a brand channel. I think that it's maybe not talked about enough as a brand channel. the like natural law of internet content and conference talks. There's enough people sort of contradicting this opinion one way or the other. And I think that all speaks to the fact that the truth lies somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I think just the fact that the way most people interact with a brand or a business of any sort, it's the website. It's not like a physical place aside from a local business, of course. The website is the internet home. It's where the brand lives. So that's everything right there.
Yeah. So from a playbook standpoint and a broken playbook standpoint, what are you thinking about in terms of creating that new playbook? What comes next now that SEO is struggling, changing, shifting, MQLs are considered differently, people's behaviors are shifting? What's the new playbook ultimately starting to look like?
I think to me, the fundamentals are actual brand building. Is that taking place and occurring? Is that downstream or upstream or on the same river as like the product itself? And what does that look like and how does that function? And then I think if you were to put that in one corner, on the other side, you have content being created for marketing purposes, to educate, to inform, to bring people into the sphere of that brand or to make that brand visible to the world. There's that. And then there's also, is the company brand product what talking about itself in generic terms that people are actually looking for? And people put all sorts of terms behind that part of it: programmatic SEO, product-led SEO, architectural SEO, whatever you want to call it. But think about the example of, I would say, what, Zillow, right? And it's like Zillow can buy a billboard and you can learn that Zillow exists. You can also search for neighborhoods or homes for sale and probably will quickly find Zillow if you're not aware of them already. And so, yeah, you got to do all of those things. If Zillow was just like a single page JavaScript app that had no search engine visibility or had no ability to like share a link aside from a logged in experience, totally different playbook, right? Or totally different world for that brand, that company. So it's like all of these things coming together. It's when I think that that's the future, you know?
Yeah, I do. And I think what's interesting, I've talked to a lot of people about this. Like, I think that the obsession with performance marketing, PPC, and to some extent, as you said, sort of SEO being defined as a performance marketing channel, which may turn out to be the wrong way to think about it. I think there's some atrophying of skills and maybe some measurement. I think like it's one thing to be brand manager at Nike and have a global brand. It's another thing to be, I don't know, a plumber or something and thinking about how do I build my brand as a new business, a new restaurant in downtown Raleigh or something like that. I think those brand skills have atrophied, to be honest. And I think at the high end, sure. But I think like performance marketing I think it's corrupted us a little bit and maybe given us false hope that we're building brand. What we're really doing is driving clicks, which are good. I think we agree clicks are good. But as you said earlier, I think clicks are getting harder to get, a lot harder to get.
Much harder to get. Yeah. I think if you were at the bleeding edge of SEO 10 years ago and you were like, and there's tons of people still doing this today and it's working for them and they're not talking about it publicly, but whatever. Using private blog networks to spam tiered links and do all this stuff and syntax this. That's awesome. Like, great. Good for you. Like, just burn down the web, but they're making money and cool. I think like that lemon has gotten harder to squeeze, of course, even for people trying to like really plant a lemon tree and grow lemons and make all natural, no high fructose corn syrup lemonade. And that's hard right now. But those people are probably on TikTok with Gen AI avatar videos or something. Like I feel like the alpha, it's a moving target. It's like, what's the latest distribution channel? Where are you? Where can you go next? And there's a whole ecosystem and organic growth on TikTok and people doing like paid ads, even short form video, to sending that traffic to a mobile app that ends up converting at a crazy rate and printing cash, to all of my reasoning and conversations I've had. But that we'll never see that on the open web, never see evidence of it, at least.
You'll ever see evidence of it because it's too good of a secret to keep. Like no one's going to go on a conference circuit and talk about that.
There's that component to it, sure. And then the other is just what I just described is like one walled garden to another, right?
Yeah.
But literally a TikTok app pushing people to a download page in the Apple West Store, like.
God, think about that from a playbook standpoint, right? So like everybody, I'm on TikTok. I have my TikTok time every night, check out some videos, right? And occasionally you'll see a creator, they'll say, hey, check out my bio for links. And you go and you see something like Linktree. I think this is what you're talking about, right? So here's Linktree and there's like special offers or special access or access to a Discord. the notion of walled garden to walled garden that's interesting. I mean, have you thought at all about operationalizing that within your own work?
I mean, extensively, yeah. I think like it's the smaller the situation, the easier it is to kind of think about something and then take that to like execution. But like talking about like a big incumbent brand, is there some huge like community led play for them to like get a stand up 25 influencers on TikTok and then push them into a private Discord group that they then upsell some sort of offer to after a group webinar call on Zoom? Like, not probably not. Is that still like a interesting thing to parse through? Yeah, sure. And then you still have the people that are standing up a 25 form sign up field for a webinar, putting it
What
on a blog that no one reads and wondering why no one shows up. So,
It's amazing. Yeah, I think that there's been some discourse lately in the news about obviously Signal and Telegram and other private messaging networks, private group chats. And there was a podcast I was listening to, I think this morning, they were talking about just that. Kind of reminds me of that sort of that sort of the hidden garden, not necessarily a community, but a connecting force as part of the playbook. That's interesting. That's something to think about from a playbook standpoint.
100%. Yeah, I think like the zone that I think ends up dominating with that whole narrative is it's just hard to like to parse through that. You got a
Yeah.
lot of pieces, and especially like you start talking about like a brand and execution. What are you gonna like hire an influencer? It can get
Yeah. No, I look, I think for big brands, middle-sized brands, any brands that are more than one person just hustling, right? I think that what we just described, it might be part of the new playbook, but can you imagine trying to sell that to a classic CMO? Hey, what we're going to do is stand up a TikTok. We're going to build content that's probably a little different than we normally do. We're going to drive traffic to a hidden page. Like, hey, how are we going to measure any of this stuff? Like almost gets back to the MQL story. And I'm not entirely sure this totally works for B2B, although why wouldn't it work for B2B, work for B2C?
yeah.
Interesting. Super interesting. All right. Let's transition from the playbook breakdown, which was, I thought, really interesting. There's some good stuff in there, to sort of new rules. I think that you've hit us with some stuff here, your perspective on AI, perspective on the marketing playbook evolution, but like you got a hot take or some other old rule that you're just like, look, this just doesn't work anymore and we got to do something about it right now.
This doesn't work anymore, and this doesn't. I mean, I think like there's a lot of I don't consider myself to be a huge nihilist, a little bit, aren't we all? But like there's just a lot of things that marketers, that SEOs do, that are almost like just meaningless optimization activities to create, I would say, busy work to justify employment or to justify a contract or an agency retainer. And so have this notion of like nihilism in SEO. And I've riffed on this in person, various settings, different friends. The duality of it is that you have people that are overt nihilist SEOs. They know that certain things are not worth doing because Google's going to do whatever, or it's not going to rank, or it's not even worth making those pages or doing that optimization because why bother? That's great. And that's using that intentionally is like a superpower. And everyone in every career, every field does this, right? Like you don't need medical treatment that you don't need. However, I think there's another modality of the person that doesn't, that they're a nihilist SEO. But in fact, they are doing nihilist SEO, not like meaningless optimization for pages that no one will ever read. And dark stuff, The thing is, it will only become easier to do nihilist SEO because you can have your GPT-4o rewrite your title tags for the automatically created pages with Gen AI content that aren't even indexed. No one will ever read. So great job. Congratulations. You've really optimized today.
So wow. So optimizing nihilism is what you're like we can automate and optimize things that don't matter really easily while we ignore the things that potentially do matter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I think like that everything is old is new again. Like you're a marketer first and foremost. What are you marketing? Do you agree with it or not? How are you doing it? What's the story? Who's the audience? You're just ignoring all of these things, and if I increase the length of my title tag to reach the suggested maximum, I will do something positive. If that's the world you're living in, yeah, it's just good luck.
Good luck.
But also, you've got a lot of box checkers out there, and this feels good, Ooh, the the Yoast SEO thing went green. The founder of that just wrote a great little takedown of apologizing for, this is the Yoast SEO plugin when you like certain
Yeah.
content.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows it. And yeah, it's like that sort of modality mindset, you know?
Yeah. I love the dopamine hit, right? I'll take, oh, my keyword's picked. My thing is long enough. I've got the social widget configured. It's freaking all green. I'll take the dopamine hit and hit publish. Let's go. And then nothing happens.
100%. Yeah, it's the nature of the world. But then you have another person who's like, I'm going to interview 10 experts. I'm going to get a bunch of quote. I'm going to add an editorial spin to that. I'm going to weave in this thing about this research that I did, original research outside of the context of those, go downstream of those conversations. And then I'm going to take that piece. I'm going to put it up on the blog. We're going to do a video. We're going to promote that on YouTube. We're going to do some paid advertising, the blog post itself. And it's got a CT and like, and then, yeah, oh, that's working. Wow. It's crazy.
Who would have thought that would work?
Yeah.
It's not easy. I think we're entering this really weird zone with the GPTs and the agents and stuff that I was on a call the other day and they were pitching this thing as if we've never as a marketing community pitched the idea that I wake up in the morning and I got my coffee and the system told me I need to send another email, or, I can just personalize this and hit the button and it just works. And I think it's just a dangerous movie that we've seen over and over and over again. It's nihilistic. It's lazy and nihilistic. And I agree. All right. We're nearly there. This has been great. I'm learning a huge amount. It's really fun. It's always fun to talk to you, man. But before we wrap up, we have this last segment that I call Force Yourself. And I am just like really obsessed with people who like manage to figure out a way to do hard things well. And I want to know if you can think of one about a time where you had to just force yourself to do something. Tell me what it was. Was a process you went through and overcoming the objections to finally get whatever it was to work? Like, how do you force yourself to get stuff done?
Artificial deadlines and then holding myself to them, I think, is a great way to force yourself to get stuff done. And it was like always what's the phrase? You do your best work 8 hours before the deadline. So you just have to invent a deadline that's before the real one, and then maybe come up with a few fake deadlines before the actual one, and usually works out, you know?
I love it. That is a hot tip right there. That's great. I'm gonna add that to my artificial deadlines. That's awesome. That's great. All right. So we did it. Thank you for your time today. I want to wrap up with just a couple of things. I think we've talked about not really the death of SEO, but the shifting of SEO into whatever we're going to call this new AI powered search thing. I don't think we said it explicitly, but I'll just say it, like the traffic we had, it's gone forever, right? It's not coming back the way we used to have it.
There's still eyeballs for brands. There's still eyeballs for content, but if Google's going to slam 600 pixels of overviews and PLAs and all sorts of other search features above organic position one. Yeah, it's a different world, you know? People have been talking about this for years, so nothing new. It's just the plane is on the runway, the engines are on, we're going for takeoff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time to go for sure. Matthew, tell us where we can find you. Tell us where you're working, what's your socials, like hit us with all the good deeds.
Find me on vino.com, the premier app for wine lovers. No, although I am there, if you can find me, please.
Let's go.
No, Twitter, MatthewGK, MatthewGK.com, Matthew at MatthewGK.com, MatthewGK in general. Good luck.
That's awesome, man. Hey, everybody, thank you for watching Playbook Broken. Remember to like, share, comment, leave me notes, and thanks for watching.